Hello everybody and welcome to video 40. Today we're going to have a very short video talking about two of the divisions you have as part of your autonomic nervous system. So your autonomic nervous system is that which is controlling things that are automatically happening in your body. So you have these autonomic motor neurons as part of your autonomic motor system. They're controlling things that you don't even have to think about that still take place in your body. So a lot of this is things like your digestive muscles. You don't have to think to tell your stomach to digest. You don't have to think to tell your esophagus to move that bolus of food down to your stomach. You don't have to think to move it through your intestines. You don't tell your heart that it needs to beat a little over once per second, because otherwise you couldn't get anything else done. And so that is what these autonomic motor neurons are going to be doing. Your autonomic motor system can be divided into two simpler or smaller systems. That is your parasympathetic and your sympathetic ANS. Somatic motor neurons, they're going to be controlling things that are controllable by you. Usually we think of these as being our skeletal muscles. So with somatic motor neurons, I can think that I want to contract my biceps brachii. Somatic motor neurons are what's going to tell that biceps brachii to contract. It's going to release that acetylcholine, and that's going to go through the whole neuromuscular junction sliding filament theory that we've talked about previously in this class. So your parasympathetic autonomic nervous system is colloquially known as your rest and digest system. Most of you right now are using or are primarily controlled by your parasympathetic ANS at this moment while you're watching this video. What your parasympathetic system does is it's going to slow your heartbeat and divert a lot of your blood toward your digestive organs. It's going to put a lot of emphasis on digestion. Normal life is going to exist in this parasympathetic. You aren't under any sort of stress here. You don't need a high blood volume. You don't need your high blood pressure or anything like that. Things are just happening normally. You're able to digest, focus on your nutrition, be able to pull those nutrients out of your food, get as much as possible, make your digestive system very efficient while you're in parasympathetic. So one way you can kind of measure the difference between the two, you can get your pulse. You can measure it in 15 seconds and then multiply it by 4 to get your beats per minute, and then compare it to a time when you're in stress, when you're not in parasympathetic, to see how fast your heartbeat is then. And you can compare the two. That is the difference between which is in charge between your parasympathetic ANS and your sympathetic ANS. So your sympathetic ANS, colloquially known as your fight or flight ANS, although there are a couple other things, there is a third F generally included, and more in some of the more recent literature for sympathetic ANS. Your sympathetic nervous system is going to do the opposite of parasympathetic, where it's going to increase your heartbeat and divert blood away from your digestive organs and instead towards your skeletal muscles. So you think this is a time when you are under some sort of stress. There is some sort of stimuli where you need a lot of blood, you need a lot of oxygen and glucose to your skeletal muscles, because to your body you're about to fight something or you need to run away from it very, very quickly. And so digestion doesn't matter if you're in a life or death situation, so that's why all that blood gets diverted to those muscles so that they can operate at their most efficient. Fun fact about this, you are more farsighted when you are activating that sympathetic nervous system. The reasons for this are not completely understood. It's thought that previous humans, when you had some sort of stimuli, some sort of danger, being able to have better vision, and usually with something that is far, usually if it's right in front of you, it's already too late. So there's some adjustments that are made to help you see better at longer distances. Excuse me. And so here's a little example of how your body works, depending on if it's at sympathetic or parasympathetic. So the red line here is how much in the sympathetic nervous system you are under control. Blue is your parasympathetic. And then this purple line here is going to be your performance as we go through. So over here on this side here, you have 0 sympathetic control and you're under complete parasympathetic control. So you are completely vegged out. You are not doing anything. You have no stress in your life. You have a full belly. Your body is going to be focusing on digestion. As a result, you're able to think pretty clearly and make very good decisions at this point. But that lack of blood flow to your skeletal muscles and to anything associated with urgency means that your body processes are going to move pretty slowly. On the opposite side, when you are under complete sympathetic control and not parasympathetic control, your body is very, very alert. It's focusing on whether it needs to fight or if it needs to run away. All of that blood flow has been diverted to your skeletal muscles, and very little gets left over to go to your brain. So thought processes kind of go out the window. Intelligence seems to disappear. You make a lot of dumb decisions, but hey, your instincts are very honed in. So, but either way, performance does not do well either way. In the middle, when you have a good balance of sympathetic and parasympathetic, different people have different levels where that peak performance is going to be. You want to be towards the middle where you have blood flow to those skeletal muscles. Your skeletal muscles are prepared, but you're also able to think pretty quickly and smartly. So you can make good decisions while still having the energy and nutrients you need to be able for that fight or flight response. This is really, really good to think about when you are doing any sort of competitions. So be it for sports, knowing how much you need to be focused and in parasympathetic, while also having that blood flow to your muscles to be able to execute whatever it is you're doing for your sport at a high level. I also mentioned this when you juniors are getting ready to take the ACT. You want to be focused and you want to be able to think clearly, but you want to have a sense of urgency so that you're able to get through all these questions and be able to move through things in a timely manner. So this is one thing that you can get practice on and start to figure out about yourself. Some of you may already kind of have an idea for preparing for those high stress situations that you need to be able to perform at a high level. So that's a little bit about your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system, autonomic nervous systems, the division and the differences between the two, how they can affect your body in different ways. Again, there's a lot of hormones also involved here, but we'll get into hormones at a later date. So for now, we're just focusing on these two divisions.